So the next thing we are going to do is, okay, let's bring up a Kubernetes cluster with Minikube. Minikube is a utility where you can bring up a Kubernetes cluster in a single machine. Okay, so this is the minimum requirement for Minikube. And Minikube is not only for hosting Docker containers; it can also host virtual images. Virtual servers like Vagrant or some other. You can also do that. So that we are not going to concentrate more on. We are going to concentrate to bring up the Kubernetes cluster using the Minikube. Okay. So for the Minikube, so let's do the Minikube in bring up the Kubernetes cluster on the node machine. So this is my node machine. So for this, the first thing we will do is we will install the kubectl and then we will proceed. First, let us install kubectl. So first, let me stop all the Docker containers. So Docker PS. So there is a container, JFrog container is running. Let me stop and remove the container. Docker stop. Give the container ID. Then let me install the kubectl first. So let me download the kubectl binary file. So this will download the kubectl and then chmod plus x kubectl and then sudo mv kubectl2 user bin, move to a location where every user will have access to. Let me move this. And to check the kubectl execution, so kube get a update like this. So let's run that. So next, let us install Minikube. Before installing Minikube, what I have to do is, there is a dependency package for contract is needed. Let me install that first. So first, let me install the contract tools. So this is the RPM for contract. And then let me install the RPM file. So yum install this RPM. First, let me install this. Oh, sorry, sudo So I'm downloading a dependency RPM and I'm installing it. So once the dependency is done, let me download the RPM for Minikube. And then sudo RPM and then let me install it using this command. So this will install the Minikube, and using the Minikube we can bring up the cluster. So using the Minikube, let us bring up the cluster. So the command to bring up the Minikube cluster is Minikube start. Okay, you can provide the driver. I don't like, if you're using a VM, you should use the driver and all those stuff. So here I'm not going to use any driver. It will use the default Docker. We will bring it up. So the option is Minikube start ---- driver equal to none. So this will download all those dependent Docker containers and it will bring up the cluster. Let's wait for the cluster to come up. So for me, the Minikube is up. So you will get an output like this. Just run the kubectl get nodes. You should get the output like one node that is in ready state. So here I'm going to manually deploy a image. You will see how it is going to react. So kubectl create deployment. Let me call the deployment as tr training ---- image. It should use the this image. Java app Jenkins training. Let me create a deployment. And then kubectl get deploy. You can see it is up to date. Then I'm going to expose this service deployment as a service using a node port concept. The command is kubectl expose deploy training ---- type equal to node port ---- port equal to 8080. I'm going to expose this deployment using node port concept, and if I do the kubectl get svc, you can see it is running on the port number 30413. If I try to connect to the node IP, this is my node IP. On port number 30413 /. So this will be posted in the Tomcat with the var file name. So the var file name I have given was new app hyphen 001 0.0.1 hyphen snapshot. This is my IP with port number. Change your IP with your respective port number, what you get in the service. You should be able to see the application. So kubectl delete svc training kubectl delete deploy training. Now, let me just walk you through the deployment YAML. Okay. In the deployment YAML, you see, I'm creating a deployment with the name training Java. So this is okay. And in the image, okay, let's modify this to use my image. So here in your repo, you just change your image. Then what I'm going to do is, I'm going to hardcode the value called latest. And this one, I will replace it. Okay. And I'm going to expose this service as a load balancer. Okay. So in the image field, change it to your repository colon latest. Let me commit the changes. And let me come back to the job. Then in the configure, see, I know that this is going to, this kubectl, all the configurations are available in the node mission. So I want this step to be executed on the node mission. So let me do that. So the option is, first, let me pull the source code into the Linux node stage, pull repo on node, and I want this to run on a specific agent. I want this to run on my Linux agent only. And steps. And then let me put the git pull. I wanted to do the git pull. And then next is stage kube deployment. There, say agent. I wanted to run on the Linux agent only. Label Linux steps. So first, the first step I'm going to do is I'm going to execute a shell script which will change the, so in my deployment YAML, I have the image, but I should use the image number with the build ID so that the respective Docker image will be pushed. So I'm going to use a command called sed. Sed is a serial editor -I, and it is going to search for, I wanted to search for this latest tag. So it should search for the file, in that it should search for latest, and it should be replaced with build number. So we do ILD. So this build number is the Jenkins job number, and I wanted to do in the global way. So /g, and the file name I wanted to do it on Kubernetes-Java deploy.yaml. So this is the file name. I should do this, and then next step I can do kubectl apply -f this deploy.yaml, this modified deploy.yaml. I will do this. Okay. So I'm updating the image tag in the first line, and the next line I'm applying the deployment YAML. So let us see this build now. The build is successful. So it will push 2 images, 3, and latest also it will push. First it will push the 3. And it's pushing the latest tag. And in the Linux, switching the code, and it is doing the set command, and it is creating a deployment and service. So if I see this now, kubectl get stc, I would see it is running on a different port number now, 32491. If I try to access this 32491, I should be able to see it is having the application 32491. So just to show you how the deployment file is configured, inside the workspace directory, you can see the Docker, and the Kubernetes Java deploy.yaml. You can see it's changing the image name for you. So click on configure, and then let me enable the GitHub hook trigger for Git SCM polling. It has enabled that. Okay, let's do that. So in the job, I'm enabling the webhook, and I'm going to my repo. In settings, under webhooks, let me edit the existing webhook, or you can create your own webhook there. And I'm updating the IP address. So it should be the IP address :8080/GitHub-webhook, and content type is application JSON, and update the webhook. So my webhook is created. Let me go to the code. In the code, there will be a Jenkins file. Let me replace the content with this. There is a Jenkins file, right? There, let me replace the content. Let me just put it on a notepad temporarily. So I need to get the URL. So before doing that, I'm just storing it. So let me change the pipeline script from SCM git, and in the git URL, I can provide, this is the git URL. I'm selecting Git as the credential. Yeah. And master is the branch, and the Jenkins file is this. Let me save this. So in the pipeline, I have modified that. And now let me remove this content. Let me add this complete content there. And if I commit the changes, I should see the new build number 4 should start. Let's wait for it. Yeah. So 4 is starting. Let's see what is happening. Steps. Just pushing the image with the tag as 4. It is also pushing the latest tag. And in the Linux mode, it is pulling the repo. And then it is modifying the deploy.yaml. If you see that the service is unchanged, but the deployment is configured. If I refresh the page, there will not be any changes. But if I come back to the repo, and let's say in the JSP, sorry, in this file, in the kubernetes.java, I have a index.jsp file. So let me edit this. And in this is a Jenkins training. Let me change it to application, Jenkins training application for OptimServe batch 2. And just give it as batch 2. Commit this change. And let me see. The build number 5 should start. So once the build is completed, I should see the page is reflecting the new content which I modified inside the repo. Cube deployment is completed. Now, if I refresh the page, you can see the heading is modified. Okay.